low background seismicity. Here's a map of the historical record of seismicity in Hispaniola. So here's Hispaniola, Haiti's over here, Dominican Republic is over here. Each of these stars corresponds to an earthquake that's been identified in the historical record. The size of these does not correspond to the magnitude. All it is just looking at when. So if you look here, which is where the earthquake in January was, 1761, 1770, 1701, you can see here along, and the Peel Fault, and then you see an awful lot of earthquakes up here along what's called the Septentrional Fault. And if you look at the sentence above the one I highlighted, we also said something about the Septentrional Fault. That was pretty scary too, but nobody knows. It hasn't happened yet. That's right. So they're not too worried about it right at the moment, although they should be. Okay, so seismometers have only been in existence really for the past 100 years. Here's a seismometer. This actually has a drawing on a paper record. Now it's all digital, but this is basically a seismometer. Although this is something from 132 AD in China, and it's believed that this is a seismometer. These little dragon mouths held little balls like marbles in them, and so it was thought that when the ground shook and the marbles fell out, and which marbles fell out where, gave some indication about the earthquake. All right, so how do we know about old earthquakes if we didn't have seismometers around? Good thing people like to draw and like to write things down. So here is a sketch of what Lisbon looked like in the Lisbon earthquake of 1765. And then here is another example from a medieval manuscript of what happened in central Italy in 1567. So people like to write it down. When an earthquake happens and they're in the middle of it, they like to write it down. So here is what was written down on May 7, 1842 by a ship captain who arrived in Haiti. And you can read it. It's the same, but it said it was totally destroyed by an earthquake, and this is May 7, 1842. It was estimated to have a magnitude of 8.0, and it affected the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So people who look at historical seismicity, this is what they do. They go back and they look through historical records in order to determine what happened. So how was the magnitude determined before instruments? Remember the modified Mercalli scale where it looked at ground shaking? Well, it's back again. So you look, this is very subjective, but people look through the historical accounts and try and determine where on the Mercalli scale the damage was and tie it to where the person was who was doing the historical account. Okay? So here's an example from the 1886 Charleston, South Carolina earthquake, where historical accounts were found in this entire region, and people went through and estimated where on the modified Mercalli scale the damage levels fell. Okay? And this just tells you, here you can see during the day felt indoors by many, outdoors by few, some people awakened. So based on these things, then people assign a modified Mercalli number to it, and then generate a map, and then it looks like there's a bullseye, so it must have happened here. Okay? All right? And then here's a comparison of the Mercalli intensity to the Richter magnitude, the same as the moment magnitude that we were talking about really close, and you can see here. All right? And you can see it doesn't work perfectly because we had major and total damage in Haiti here, and they say 8 or higher, and we were only at a 7.0. And for those of you who know about New Madrid, this is why there's a huge controversy as to how big were the earthquakes in 1811. Okay? Because we don't know, and people differ on how they interpret it. Okay, so here's